Comic Chat Army. We're here today with Joseph Schmalke. Said it right? Schmalke?
You did.
All right. Joseph Schmalke, the creator of We Don't Kill Spiders, Cherry Blackbird, and the co-writer of Phantom Star Killer.
And artist. Yeah. So the creator is Peter Gorel. I co-write and I illustrate the book. Yeah. And then I'm the co-creator and co-illustrator, co-writer on Electric Black. And I'm the creator of The Infernal Pact, which is another book I put out years ago. And The Calamitous Black Devils. I'm sure I'm missing something else.
Yeah, and Shadow Man, right?
I did 2 variant covers for issue 1 that just came out. That is like my when I was a kid, you've got like Spider-Man, Batman, you love these heroes. Mine was, I was getting close to being out of comic books at that time, but it was the last hero I loved was Shadow Man. And I collected a majority of the early Valiant run of that book. So to come back and with the recent Cullen Bunn series, be able to do a cover for it, not just 1, but 2, I was super excited about that. I might be doing a variant for issue 2 as well.
Nice. People can get that at their comic book store, right?
They can get that at El Rey Comics or Gotham Central. So if you're in Canada, go to Gotham Central. If you're in the United States, go to El Rey.
All right. So how did you get clicked up with Scout?
So I believe it was back in 2015, 16 maybe. I was going to Emerald City Comic Con, and I had been featured as one of the like specialty a special book that you could get at the show, and it was for my book at the time was called Horror of Babylon, and I made a risograph version of the book, and it came with the book, and then you got some swag with it. Anyway, the current president at Scout, I don't believe he was the president at Scout at the time. He was just putting out a book with them. He befriended me at the show. He was super into what I was doing, and frankly, he was way better at marketing his own stuff than I was at marketing my stuff. And we kind of started this really long friendship. He's like one of my best friends now, and his name's James Hake. He did Solar Flare at the time was his one book. Now he does, he's done The Mall and several other Scout titles. And so after I'd put out Horror Babylon, I pitched it to Scout initially and was rejected. James fought for me, though. He wanted to see that book come out through Scout at some point. But he did say, hey, if you've got another property that you want to put out that's not quite as adult as Horror Babylon, then pitch it to us. And at the time, I was coming to a point where I was going to be quitting my regular job as an engineer at ABC, and I was going to go into illustration and comic creation full time. Pretty scary transition there, going from like full-time job with benefits and a union gig to working for yourself. But James was like, no, if you do what you've been doing, you're going to make it. And at the time, me and my good friend, brother from another mother, Rich Woodall, we were tossing around some ideas about a horror series to work on. And so I had created this sort of exploitation over-the-top horror universe where the 7 Lords of Hell had different deals going with different people. So part of it was the Infernal Pact. Horror Babylon was the follow-up to it. And then I rebranded Horror Babylon to Cherry Blackbird, which is now coming out through Scout. So that was a roundabout way of saying that that's being made now. And then the third book in the series was going to be called The Electric Black. And because me and Rich were working on it together and I wanted him to have co-creator credit, we sort of rebranded the entire storyline. Initially, it was supposed to be one of these characters from Infernal Pact and Cherry Blackbird called the Black Hen. He was the shop owner of the Electric Black. But we developed a new character together called Julius Black, and he became like our crypt keeper. And we created some other employees, like Rich came up with Roy, this big, massive, just like rage monster that screams nothing but the words Roy. And then we both developed Jack. He went through several incarnations before he became what he is. And then I came up with Junebug, who's the delightful female psychopath of the store. So after we came out with that book, it was at the time when we came out with it through Scout, which they didn't want to pick that up either. But James sneakily slid it in to the rest of their solicitations to Hollywood companies. And if you know anything about Scout, it's that they have like a big footprint in Hollywood. Well, the most amount of callbacks they had on something that particular year was for the Electric Black. So naturally, they signed us. And so we got our deal with them. And we put out the first issue, and it was the top-selling Scout book of all time at that point.
Wow.
So, and we were putting out a really decent series at that point. We had a lot of fanfare behind it. And I started doing some variant covers for hit books like Something is Killing the Children and Undiscovered Country and things like that. And then James started toying around with the idea of creating these imprints, right? And Rich, my partner, his dream has always been to like sort of run his own comic book studio. So this was an opportunity for us to start a comic book studio through Scout. And so James offered me the imprint gig. We brought in Rich. He handles like pretty much all the aesthetic design of our books. We did find some really cool paper to print our stock on, which I found through a friend of ours, but all Black Caravan books are printed on this really cool, it's basically like a sketch cover type stock. And we pitched them on the idea of picking up. So me and Peter Gorel, the creator of Phantom Starkiller, around this same time when I was making Electric Black and whatnot, actually before that, I was working with Peter before I quit my day job. I was making Super 7 box art for him. This was the first piece I ever did with him, and it was for the glow-in-the-dark Phantom Starkiller. Yeah, I did 2 of the cards for Phantom Starkiller. I did this one, which is actually going to be the 4th printing cover. It's going to look like this for Phantom Starkiller, and it's going to glow in the dark. So people, if you missed out on the first 3 printings, the 4th printing is coming. It will glow in the dark. It's going to be awesome. So that was the first card art I did for Super 7. The second piece of card art I did was called the Blackout Banshee, and it's all black and gray Starkiller. Anyway, so James offers us this imprint through Scout to do this curated horror and sci-fi line. And one of the first things I pitched was to pick up Phantom Starkiller. Because when I was working on the card art for this toy, I realized Peter had this really cool story that went along with this guy. So we started, I was like, have you ever thought about making your own comic book for him? And Peter was like, I would love to. So me and him started kicking around ideas. Eventually, he came up with this general premise of what he wanted to go through, and me and him created the book together. We wrote the script together. I did all the illustrations. He was mostly happy with everything that I did, so I find that to be like good. That's sort of good working with. There was a couple of times he's like, that picture looks horrible. You got to fix that. But that was only a handful of times, so that was good. And then we got to the end of it, and Peter colored the entire first issue. And so it's a very collaborative because color really can elevate artwork and stuff. So nothing else I do really looks like Phantom Starkiller or Draco Knuckle Duster, because it's, you know, Peter's half of the creative processes in there too. So yeah, that's how we all got started together, and that's how the imprint launched. And then now here we are years later, right? And you're polybagging this book at your day job.
Yep.
And I was told by Jim Pruitt that this was a no-no book, that I couldn't put this out. And now it's coming out, and it's one of the next top-selling direct market books that Scout's ever produced.
Wow.
And there you
Where
go.
can people?
Boom.
Yeah. Is the trade paperback for sale now? If people want to get
Nah,
the trade
I own
for
all
the
the
single
stock
issue.
of that.
Okay.
I put out like so my store, I have an Etsy shop, right? But I'm busy making stuff all the time, and my intern doesn't start till for like another month, and I still got to train them and everything. So yeah, I only keep my shop open 1 to 2 days a month tops. And when it's open, I'll usually toss in like 20 copies of this or something for people to grab if they want to get it. So those in the know it's there. But I also didn't want to get a ton of these out there because I want people to buy the single issues, you know?
Right.
That being said, if you do own this, you don't own the full story, because I'm adding additional content to issues 2, 3, 4, and 5 of Cherry Blackbird. So
give us the pitch on Cherry Blackbird. What's the story about?
she's a 26-year-old rock star that had sold her soul for fame and fortune. Pretty like classic story there. But the devil comes to her and says, these 7 wicked souls have escaped from hell, and if you can send them back before your 27th birthday, you get a pass. So now she's like on this cross-country bloodbath road trip, sending these demons back to hell, and she's got 1 year to do it.
Wow.
And it's, when I say it's like an exploitation story and it's a horror story, it's very graphic and over the top, but it's a self-aware book. And it's not some cheesecake floozy running around doing pinup girl stuff. She kicks the shit out of people. It's awesome.
All right. Where do you get the inspiration for these characters?
Well, I mean, I grew up, you know, in a very, my group of friends are all actors, okay? Most of them. So there was a lot of cinema and talks of cinema and stuff like that. And I grew up on comic books. My father was really big into The Punisher. And that was sort of like our connector, was reading comics together. So as I got older and, you know, watched every, you know, Quentin Tarantino film, and then lots of films in that particular genre, like loved mobster movies and stuff like that. But I'm a huge fan of horror, and horror in those sort of like, I guess, thug-ish exploitation films. Like they kind of meet together, and that's where you get your cult classics and stuff like that. But so yeah, that's my whole education and entertainment, I guess. And then when I make my own stories, I draw from a pretty deep well of content. So Cherry Blackbird is, you know, I just pitched you on that, but We Don't Kill Spiders is a completely different story, where it takes place in the early Viking Age, and a necromantic witch and a faithless Viking are chasing down a serial murderer in this small village. And it's more of a detective story, but it takes place, so it's very high concept, you know, in that way. And then Electric Black is about a cursed antique shop that transverses time and space, appearing to people it wants to corrupt or devour. And there's this sort of ancient war between good and evil and light and dark, and the lines between what's good and what's bad get very blurred. So yeah, lots of different subject matter. In my first book, my first published piece of comic was called The Calamitous Black Devils, and that's a World War II story about an elite brigade of army operatives that go behind enemy lines to stop Nazis from opening up this doorway to another world. But they succeed in stopping the Nazis, but the doorway still opens and sucks them in. And they find themselves trapped on this planet at the center of the universe where this ancient god is trying to end all life.
Wow. I like what you do. My co-host / wife absolutely loves the Electric Black.
Oh, awesome. Awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we've got a 4th issue for Electric Black Presents coming out this year in October. I don't know if you read issues 1 through 3, but those Electric Black Presents are like origin stories behind a lot of the characters. And we left everything on a cliffhanger at the end of issue 4 of the Electric Black, right?
Right.
So you don't know who's wearing the mask of the Yellow Stranger. Roy ran off and got captured by or taken in by the Father Tommaso and the Brotherhood of the Light. And so a lot of that gets answered in issue 4 of the Electric Black Presents, and you find out more about the past of the actual Electric Black and how it got formed.
Nice. And people can go through their normal channels where they get Scout books to get all of these other books, correct?
Yeah, so Black Caravan is an imprint. It's a curated imprint done by myself and Rich Woodall. And we focus mostly on horror, sci-fi, and bizarre materials. So yeah, you can find all this stuff through Scout. We do a lot of variant covers. Those don't necessarily go through Scout stores. You want to go find the shops that are putting out those variants in order to get them. So like today, Coast City Comics did a variant with me of Draco Knuckle Duster. So you have to go to Coast City to get that.
Okay.
Go there to buy that. And then yesterday we had we had 2 variants come out. And whether or not people know it, it's going to be one of the rarer ones, the black, white, and spot color variant from Third Eye Comics. Those went on sale yesterday. So we're going to be staggering out variant covers from now until early July, just based on the amount of shops and stuff. And I think thus far we have around 20 variants for Count Draco Knuckle Duster and about 15 for We Don't Kill Spiders, and I think 8 for Gods of Brutality. Those are our 3 new #1s coming out. Gods of Brutality is Rich Woodall's new book. It's about this rock star that overdoses. He ends up going to hell, and he prays to Zeus and Odin to come and save him, and they send their sons down. So Thor and Hercules go down to hell and start fucking up all these demons and stuff trying to save this rock star. Gods of Brutality.
Oh, yeah. We're definitely going to review a lot of these books. Let's see. Where can people find you?
So I have a Facebook page called Joseph Schmalke Storyteller. My last name is extremely unique. There are like 7 people or something in the entire country with this last name, and 4 of them live in my house. So, yeah, it's easy to find me. So again, it's Joseph Schmalke Storyteller. I tend not to take new friends on my direct Facebook page, just because my wife gets like creeped out about showing pictures of our daughters and stuff like that and having strangers look at them.
Yeah.
So come to my Storyteller page, and I always post there first. All new content I'm putting out, where to get variants, anything to do with Black Caravan, I post there first. Second, you can go to Instagram because I post there second. And that's just, I think I'm listed as @Schmalke. So that's SCHMALKE. And yeah, come and give me a follow there. I always post when and where things will be available. It's all art. There's no political talking there. There's no hate, no racism. No, I don't care what gender you are or how you identify. It's all just artwork and food porn sometimes.
Well, thank you for that. Yeah, I mean, thank you for taking the time to come talk with us. Hopefully,